Hi everyone. It's really nice to be here today to see some friendly faces, people who've been backing us. I want to thank you for being with Venezuela because your input is for us is oxygen. And I'm deeply concerned. I feel so much consternation because today we woke up and we have a new war. There is a war in Libya. And we feel especially touched because in 2002, when the coup was given against President Chavez, a coup that ousted President Chavez for 2 days, a bunch of lies were waved, to oust President Chavez. And there were, a bunch of people that killed people of the opposition, and they say on TV, but they have something really well prepared on the media, and they say on TV, President Chavez sent these people to kill opposition demonstrators. And everybody believed, and everybody who wanted to believe that, believed that. And we don't know, as Michel Colon points out, we don't know how many lies are behind this new war. But there is, in the last 100 years, there's been 80 wars waged by the great powers. And I ask myself today, that I feel so much sorrow, how many more wars the world has to endure to realize that this is nonsense, that humanity has to stand up and saying that this is not acceptable. It cannot, this is not another day. It's another day and we have a new war. So it's something that I think we have to all feel like very disturbed. But anyway, today in my presentation, I'd like to thank again to the Left Forum for opening this fantastic window for debate, for discussion. I'd like to say that the world capitalist system is waging monumental offense against Venezuela and against Venezuelan citizens. It does that in various dimensions, in different levels, at the economic level, at the diplomatic level. You've seen the Wikipedia documents released, and it's done at the political, at the cultural level, at the media. The media has done a tremendous work to try to portray us as something that we're not. Anyway, so at the political level, they accuse us of living under a dictatorship, but they leave out, they silence the fact that we have gone through 15 electoral processes that are completely transparent, that have been backed up by international institutions like the Carter Center and others, international observers, and we have clearly won 14 of those elections. And we could say that in one that which was a reform, we lost. Another we cannot call close results. So it's important to point out that Venezuela is not a dictatorship. I know that you all know, but it seems like it's necessary to repeat these things. So at the social level, I brought you some graphs. I don't believe in PowerPoint because PowerPoint, it's like technology sometimes, plays bad. But I brought you this because it's important to see the Gini coefficient. This chart shows, it's by Penode, and shows the Gini coefficient of household per income in the different regions of the world. This, as you can see, is Latin America. This is Asia. These are developed countries, Africa, and Eastern Europe and Central Asia. So as you can see, Latin America is the region that's the most unequal. We see that the Gini coefficient, this is total equality. 0 would be total equality, and 1 would be total inequality. As you can see, Latin America is the most unequal region in the world. But it's interesting to point out that Venezuela is right here, as one of the countries leading, going more towards equality. And you see that the only 2 countries that are better than Venezuela are Uruguay and Costa Rica, all of which have less than 4.5 million inhabitants. And Venezuela is a medium-sized country with 30 million inhabitants, and we're doing this. We know that we still have so much to go to fight poverty, but we have consistently working on that. We have to be aware that there's been 500 years of colonization, first by the Spaniards. Immediately as Simón Bolívar wrote the liberation, immediately we had Great Britain and the US trying to make use of our resources. But anyway, so also Darío mentioned poverty. Also in poverty, we had some great success. This is general poverty. and this is extreme poverty, which is much more important. But you see this point, this has to do with all the backup or the retrocesso that we had during the coup, the oil sabotage that we had in 2002 and 2003, which cost the Venezuelan government over $20 billion. This oil sabotage that the opposition organized against the country. So also we have Venezuela has had a tremendous increase in the Human Development Index. And you see it here, the charts. I mean, all these charts are on the internet. And also the unemployment rate has going steadily down. And even when now with the recession is a little bit up, we have worked steadily and will continue to work steadily in improving the social indicators. So, but anyway, I think the greatest process, the greatest achievement that Venezuela has had is that we have rehabilitated politics, because we weren't allowed to have an endogenous, a real development, because we were to play a role as a colony, a role as a third world country. And I think that's the great thing that the Bolivarian Revolution has brought to Venezuela. Anyway, there's been a set of new laws that are making possible that all these changes are taking place in Venezuela. But something important to highlight is that 12 years ago, because the Bolivarian Revolution has 12 years, we haven't talked about socialism those 12 years. I would say that we started talking about socialism like in 2005. So it's important to say that this has been a learning process, that we're not experts in socialism or anything like that. We're all sons and daughters of capitalism, and we're learning to do new things, and that solidarity is key for us. Well, anyway, so all the strategic sectors were in the hands of transnational corporations or totally in hands of corporations or semi-privatized. And 12 years after President Chavez took power, we know we have the telecommunications, banking, electricity, gas, iron, all strategic sectors are renationalized in Venezuela. And it's very good to see that the generated profits of these sectors are reinvested in social programs. I have here, I think I have here a chart that is very interesting. This was Venezuela before Chavez and Venezuela after Chavez. You see here that before Chavez we would invest 31% of the total income of Venezuela, which was only this part, and then we see that right now we're investing 61.9% of the total income that the country has, which is and in the past we used to talk about spending, social spending. Now we think it's an investment. We're investing in social programs. So, but also in the economy, we had a totally different vision. We applied capital control flight, increase international reserves, pay off the International Monetary Fund debt, and also, very important, we quantify the reserves, the oil reserves, which are 297 billion barrels, which are the largest oil reserves in the world, which make us like a weak point, in this planet where there are wars waged against countries that have oil. And anyway, during all these years, all these advances that we had, and I'm not going to talk about the shortcomings. Forgive me for that. But I think they will do a much better job. And yeah, so I think it will have shortcomings. I think we're well aware of the shortcomings, and we're working on that. But I think it's very much more important to talk about the progress today, because I don't know up until what point many of you, without even being conscious of it, are reading the New York Times and believing all what is said there. I'm sure that all this information you haven't read in the New York Times. It's not what they want you to believe. But anyway, so I think, as Noam Chomsky says, that the danger of Venezuela is that Venezuela is a good example for other countries to follow, to recover the right to develop themselves and that somehow Venezuela went from being a mere accomplice on behalf of unipolarity to being the axis of multipolarity. I'm also responsible for Latin American unity. I'm also responsible for the collapse of the free trade agreement of the Americas, which is something that some people might not forgive us. But anyway, we're leading OPEC, non-aligned movement. We're now very active in the G15. We're associate members of Mercosur. We're founders of ALBA, UNASUR, and we're trying to play a positive role within the international community. Anyway, I don't know how many minutes I have. Yeah.
About 2.
Okay. Well, I wanted to say, to tell you a story. I have a cousin who tells me, you're stupid. People in your family, the Delgados, are stupid. You are idiots. I say, why? He said, because you should be stealing. And is this really? You have to understand what culturally Venezuela was before Chavez. It's like you would take government, you would take a position, and most of the people could go there like to try to gather as much as possible. It was like a vision of Venezuela was a hotel. Venezuela wasn't a country to build, to construct, to raise your family, to make a country that's going to be for your sons and daughters and for your granddaughters and grandsons. So it was more like a hotel where you could take something and kind of provision something like to live more or less decently, and that was the vision. And many people would see like having a government post was an opportunity to steal, and it's something shocking. So now we have recovered. We have a country to fight for. We have recovered a sense of dignity, which we didn't have. And we want to, continue being a positive force in Latin America, being a positive force in the world, reinforce that we're a peaceful revolution. We go to power through electoral means, and we want to kind of continue as a reinvigorated revolution with your help and your support and your solidarity. So I think we're all part of this new utopia, and yeah, and I think I'm going to leave sometimes, so if you have any questions, I will be happy to answer them, and yeah, and let's see how it goes with the thing of so sad about the war.
Okay.